The common thread in NerveCenter's monitoring capabilities is applied business intelligence. With NerveCenter, you can build your network intelligence back into the monitoring solution. This idea goes beyond your knowledge of the network infrastructure itself. NerveCenter can also incorporate your knowledge of business services and applications, their importance to your company, and how they function across both the network and the business itself. Let's consider an example of an e-commerce environment. In this example, we have many disparate devices performing independent functions. We have a web server providing a front door to our customers, a database containing all of the product information that populates the website, other application servers, and an authentication server that allows customers to log into the site and buy products. Many monitoring solutions will monitor each of these device clusters independently of each other. You don't need sophisticated knowledge of the network to identify when a server goes down and to alert someone about it. But what about the pathways between the device clusters? What about the interoperability of the devices and how they interact? By having the awareness of the e-commerce environment as a complete service, with NerveCenter we can monitor the business service instead of monitoring independent devices. Let's say that we test the service from the outside in, and our web test fails. When we look at our monitoring, we see that the web server is functioning properly. Something else is preventing us from logging into the web server. The service is effectively down. A competitive solution might not identify this as a problem because the web server is still functioning properly, but there is a service outage. Let's consider how NerveCenter would monitor the business application as a whole. This is the NerveCenter state diagram for this web service monitoring. The state diagram is a pictorial of how NerveCenter monitors for changes in state. The monitoring always starts at the ground state. NerveCenter will poll to check the status of the web server and test the login to the e-commerce site. If this is fine, it will return to ground state after cycling. If, on the other hand, NerveCenter detects a problem with the web server or the login, it will start checking other aspects of the e-commerce ecosystem to gather more information about the issue. It will correlate what it learns to identify the root cause. Now, let's go back to our network diagram view. NerveCenter tests the e-commerce web server login, and if the login is successful, as we saw in our state diagram, it will cycle back to the ground state, and at the next test interval will test again. If, however, NerveCenter does not get an appropriate response, it will send a warning to alert the operator. As we saw in our state diagram, NerveCenter will then start checking to see if the web server processes are running. If these are okay, it will check to see if there is a connectivity issue in the ecosystem. If it gets a login with no menu, it will check application servers. Also, if the login fails, it will check the authentication server to see if the root cause is there. In this case, NerveCenter's login test to the authentication server failed. With the correlation of the information NerveCenter has learned, we conclude the root cause is the authentication server. With NerveCenter, you can incorporate your knowledge of the business services and applications, their importance to your company, and how they function across both the network and the business itself into your monitoring. With NerveCenter, you can monitor logical clusters of devices and applications, regardless of where they are in your network topology or architecture, as a holistic business service as opposed to monitoring individual devices.